I always want to be a designer, but then things change like last minute.
The initial idea between me and Hans collaborating, there's a restaurant have great food but mediocre service. Or the other way around, great service but mediocre food.
Before, you always think very simple. You want to pursue what you like, but not necessarily what you like is something that you're gonna like when it converted into the real industry.
When you fell in love with it, you woke up in the morning and you whatever it takes, how challenging it was, that you still do it.
I said to Hans, look, there's a blank canvas for great food and great service or hospitality, and no one does it. And this is something that we want to paint on.
I'm Hans, I'm the chef owner of August Jakarta. I was born in Bandung, my mom is from Bandung, my dad is from Surabaya. But I grew up in Jakarta for the past 31 years. I only spent like a year in Bandung and a year in Surabaya, and the rest is I'm Jakartan.
How long have you been cooking?
Professionally, since 2012. Well, 2010 if you count all the internship. So 14 years now. But I've been cooking like for fun since high school, but I don't consider that, you know.
Was it
14 years.
always your first choice to become a chef when you were
No,
in
not
high
at
school?
all. Like I always want to be a designer. I love to sketch, an illustrator to be more specific. Like since I think primary school, 6 years old, I remember myself like always drawing stuff, you know. And back then I always draw like a Dragon Ball. That's my first thing that I love to draw. I remember the day where I tell that drawing to my other friends in school, and I got scolded because I took money from them. But yeah, no, until high school I always want to pursue design, but then things change like last minute.
What makes the changes? Like what is the changes?
I think before you always think very simple, like you want to pursue what you like, but not necessarily what you like is something that you're gonna like when it's converted into the real industry. And what I mean by that is I talk to a lot of senior friends that already in the industry of design, illustrating and all that, and when they told me the story, it doesn't appeal me more than I used to like it. And to be honest, like a lot of them like super stressed, like a black eye, and doesn't seem too happy about what they do. It's not about the intensity or the hard work. It's more about, I feel a lot of them, they lost that kind of like spark and passion. I'm not sure because of the stress or whatever, but yeah. And then when I try to, since I love to cook occasionally, so I talked to my other senior who pursue culinary arts, and I saw some, like cooking show. I read some cookbook, and I think this is a fun industry. Of course, I didn't know the struggle and the long hours, the crazy stuff. Back then, it's only the rainbow, and so yeah, I decided, it looks like a fun industry to be in.
Who did you look up when you started cooking?
Back then, there is a local celebrity chef named Chef Bara, but for international chef, I remember back then there is a library in UPH University, Pelita Harapan University, and I always coming back after church to this library to read this book of Gordon Ramsay, like the white Gordon Ramsay, the fine dining book. With all the quotes, the food. I think I remember that's the first book that really brought the spark in,
So Gordon Ramsay was sort of like one of the inspirations behind celebrity chef that you looked up to. What about families? How's family influencing in cookings and stuff?
Maybe unconsciously, my mom always cook at home and always love to bake. Not for like a full-time business, but sometimes, she sells the cake or whatever. But I think I always exposed to that, although I don't always help her. My dad occasionally cook like a fried rice, although it's only salt and spicy, but for me it's good, and it's fun. So I always end up cooking fried rice for my junior high school friend back in the day.
Is that moment of time influencing you how you cook nowadays? From families, from the people that you admired back then?
It's a bit a tricky question, because I always read the story of a certain chef who grew up with their grandma in some village in France somewhere, that really influenced them. I don't think I have that kind of like deep connection with my family in terms of that. I think it's more about I see them every day, but I don't really, involve, and that just bring about a curiosity. And that's enough, I think, to make me want to try. I'm not saying that back in the day I really love to cook and it's something that I really passionate about. I don't think it's that deep. I think the philosophy and the love, the passion and the excitement grows along the way when I already plunge myself in the journey.
Tell me a little bit about when you started love cooking, and then how did you grow until now you have one of the best restaurants in Asia? Bring me along the journey.
It's gonna be like an hour.
Okay, let's do it like this. Where did you start cooking?
Basically, I went to Malaysia. I pursue a major in culinary arts in Taylor's University in Malaysia, and I spent 1.5 years there with half a year of internship in 2 places. My very first internship is in Hotel Westin in Kuala Lumpur, where I was exposed to everything. Italian fine dining, banquet, breakfast, all-day dining, just try everything, pastry. And my second internship was in a restaurant called Chinos in Kuala Lumpur. More like a bistro, kind of like they sell pizza, sushi, pasta, everything. I always knew that I have to try everything before I decided where I was very interested in. It was some crazy time because I spent a couple of weeks, in the omelette station, which is the craziest during breakfast, the most intense station I ever been. But I was very good as well in Indian station, making roti canai and all that. So a lot of interns, they came super early so they get to pick which station they're in. And I always end up getting the Indian station, which is the station that they try to avoid. I end up after 1 or 2 weeks, I end up being the best roti canai maker among all the interns.
How did you get into fine dining after that?
I did a couple of trial in Malaysia during school. You always, because the foundation of the curriculum is French, so they always have this simulation. They have for a restaurant in the university where the student will cook for a guest, can be a teacher or your friends. And that's quite close to be a fine dining or a set course simulation. And I really love that kind of experience. When I transferred to the US, I always want to pursue fine dining, but I took a major of nutrition and food science just because I really love that aspect of cooking, because the choices is whether you want to pursue that or you pursue the management part. I'm more interested in the science part. Yeah, I took nutrition and food science, where you actually was being in a route to be a research chef for a company like Nestle or Kraft, or nutrition is the other major where you can work in a hospital, designing meals for a certain disease and all that. I did a couple of stage during my school year, even though it's only a couple of days, here and there. My friends went for holiday and I bought a ticket to New York. I did touch at Le Bernardin, Les Paliers in Boston. So while pursuing that nutrition and food science stuff, I'm still spend a time to spend myself in the fine dining environment as well. And just in case, that is not something that I wanna pursue. But I give myself a chance because at that time salary is way higher. So I'm just curious. So I did my first 3-month internship as a research chef in a company, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. It's nice for the first week, but you kind of feel a bit of emptiness, especially when you already experienced that intensity and adrenaline and that that push. So on that 3 months internship, I spent my Saturday and Sunday to stage in fine dining, and at that time it was in Chicago. So I did my stage in Alinea and Next. After I finished my 3 months internship, I said to myself, I'm going back to fine dining. No more of this nutrition and food science.
No more 9 to 5.
No more 9 to 5.
How did you get into Alinea actually? actually?
I brought my CV in. I drove to the back alley of Alinea. You know, I should email them.
Yeah.
But when you don't get any response or whatsoever, you just do that, just to show effort. Although it can be very awkward and not everybody like positive about it, but I think they are very receptive and they took me in. We scheduled through text with, at that time I still remember, the chef who received me was Chef Simon Davis, and I did my stage at Alinea and I did my stage at Next as well. The same thing, but the mistake was instead of going through the back alley at Next, I went through the
Front door.
front door.
No, okay.
I talked to the host thing. I think
But it works. I mean,
I would
you did get
change
the internship.
Like it's
Why?
it's
Why
weird,
would you
but,
change?
No, because to walk through the front door when they open, it was like 6 p.m. Like I think I'm being stupid and not considerate. Like they're busy, they're receiving guests, so I should come during the prep time. But anyway, after I tried both, I saw Next as a space that is smaller in the sense that I feel like I can grow here. Alinea is bigger in terms of the system and the team, and I feel like I'm gonna do more small stuff, more specific stuff, maybe garnish or for the next couple of months. So Alinea, I feel it's a good place to see the system, but you have to really have more than a year to really learn, because at that time my visa is very limited. I only get to work for 1.5 years. Yeah, I applied to Next, be a full-time there after that period of staging.
How long did you get the full time for?
I staged there for 3 months, every 3 days every week, 2 to 3 days every week. And then I moved to New York for a bit to work at Yonos first.
Indonesian in America, is it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Because I went for a competition and then I worked there, and then I moved from New York, then I moved back to Chicago for a full-time at Next. I only did around 7 to 8 months because my visa expiring. So in that last 1 month of my visa, I tried to apply for a sponsorship, doing consultancy. Yeah, you can say that, for like one modern Indonesian restaurant in Chicago, but I didn't get that visa.
And then you went back to Indonesia after that.
I went back to Indonesia, yeah.
How did that impact, like getting the experience from overseas and then you bring it back to Indonesia? How was it?
It's good. It's good in a way that I think the most important thing whenever you work is not about recipe or cooking technique. Is very important. The philosophy is very important. And I couldn't say this to everyone, but what works for me back then is when I spend my time at Next, I really observe their system and their flow and how they work. And I think that's the most crucial aspect of working that really helped me now. Because working in a lot of different places, fine dining, restaurant, you kind of like pick all the good stuff. And it's not about, to be honest, I spend like very limited time. I wish I can work for more than 2 years. But I think it's not about how long were you there, but how much you absorb as a sponge during that limited time. Because it's better for you to sometimes experience a lot of different experience if you have that ability to absorb as much. But yeah, it all depends on your leadership and all that. When you come back, everything is gonna be tested, especially when you are put in a position where you have to find your own calling in what kind of food that you want to do, and also how you lead the team. I think that's the most important thing. I think it's very easy to set a style of cooking or cook the food that you love, the food that sometimes people think it's cool, but I think the real proving points will be in how you grow people, or how you manage a team, how you create a good workplace, how you keep everybody driven. I think that's the most important aspect of being a chef.
That's a really good one. Okay, this is for the younger generations that currently doing something that they want to do. It's not just about in the culinary industry, but in every industry. I'm pretty sure they have a burnout. Have you ever got that? And then how did you get back to it? And then, look, I'm going to do it. And then now you've become one of the best chefs in Jakarta.
Well, thank you for the compliments. I'm just doing my best, and I have a very good team, so it's a collective effort. But burnout is a very interesting concept. Maybe I can also ask you, like, what is burnout?
Let's say I just get tired if I keep doing the same thing, and then Yeah,
'Cause,
maybe something like that.
It's a very tricky question because burnout for everybody is different. When I look at burnout, I think you have to understand yourself to really know whether it's a burnout. Because when it comes to burnout, it depends on it's the stress level. It doesn't care whether the problem is small or big, because a lot of people have different capacity. Like I would say a mental capacity. Some people have a bigger mental capacity that can handle a bigger problem, but even a small problem can trigger a lot of people as well. But I feel for me, burnout is more about in here. It's not about physically. When you feel tired in a way that, or stressed, or you feel that, should I do this anymore? And you wake up every day questioning yourself, is this something that I want to do for the next year or for the next 5 years? Maybe the easiest way to answer is what I do for myself. If I have the liberty or if I have the privilege or the resource to step back, then I will step back a little bit, maybe for a week or two. What I mean by step back is, for me, it's not necessarily to travel. Sometimes I just spend like a me time at home, or travel somewhere to really find some quiet time to really think about things. But I think everybody have a different coping mechanism. But if you don't have that luxury, because when you work full time, it's not like, chef, I want to take 2 weeks off. And I think it's very hard. Like,
do you think you
during
can
my
grow...
time, I don't have the luxury.
Right.
So,
Okay.
like, I just kept going until I resign.
Right. Right.
No, like,
no. I mean,
no,
I get
mean,
it. I get it.
Sorry, but yeah, it's
Just keep going. That's
yeah,
it. No.
like I just keep going when I work. Now I'm a business owner, so but even then, I have that. I always guilt trip myself whenever I'm away for quite a long time, even though I have family as well. But yeah, that feeling is always there. Even with all the achievement, if you look from the guest perspective, if you look from the public's perspective, you look at how August be right now. But even until now, I always question myself, question myself in terms of, are we in the right direction? I'm not saying only now, but also like, are we going through the right direction maybe for the next year? Should we keep doing this? Should we change? Should we evolve? Is this a good format? That's always the question, like, and it's always there every time.
So for the younger generations, what would you say if they are in that stage at this moment?
First is be responsible of your own decision, and second thing, there is no right and wrong. And I'm saying that because a lot of people, they feel bad towards many things. They feel that if they take a break or stop or resign or whatever, they feel that they're weak, they are not meant for this industry, that a lot of people will look at them differently. But if you look at a lot of even successful chefs out there, they have that phase in their career. It's not like running like a sprint all the way. There's a certain phase where they don't really highlight it, and it's not in the media. Maybe that 6 months of their life, maybe that 3 months or even 2 months or maybe a year of their life, that is the invisible phase of life where they just be in the cave and try to figure things out, and it's okay. You don't have to feel that you're not productive. In the end of the day, it's a long run, it's a marathon, so it's okay to sit down a little bit and think about things and try to find yourself again and run again. So, but a lot of people, I know that they guilt trip themselves. I shouldn't stop, I should keep going. A lot of people spend their time in the kitchen, and I know some of them that take a break and move to another industry, doing something else, maybe, maybe wine, maybe just something else. But then after 2 years, they came back, and they came back strong. Because you'll never know, because there is no exact formula in how you can reach that success.
So to summary, so basically it's a long run and just come back stronger. That's the 2 points that I highlight at the moment. What do you know now that you wish you known earlier during your culinary journey?
A lot of things, actually. I would tell myself that a sense of responsibility in a way that I'm gonna tell my younger self to think like a person above you, from the point of view of a person above you, if you get what I mean. So what I mean by that is, when you're a commie, what makes you can progress quickly is when you're a commie, but you already start to think like a CDP. When you're a CDP, you think like a sous chef. When you're a sous chef, you think like the head chef or the chef owner. And Let me put into a perspective. So when you're a commie or a CDP, you're just thinking to save yourself, like how to survive the day, how to have enough prep, how not to fuck up. But you don't think above that in a sense of quality control sometimes. Sometimes you have to make a sacrifice when the quality is not there, and you have to make a sacrifice by repeating or redoing it again. But you know there's a expensive price, but you just, okay, forget about it. I'm just gonna, serve this, but it's not perfect. When you can put a different perspective as someone above you, as yourself, I think you can progress quicker. When you're a chef de partie, you just think of your station. You don't care about
Other
the
stations,
station
yeah.
beside you or across you, but you can. When you start thinking about that, it's gonna change your game. And also, that second thing would be, I would tell myself that sometimes don't underestimate your audience. Even your audience is very minimal. So for whoever is out there cooking, maybe you're a business owner, maybe you're just a cook, maybe you're a head chef. Don't ever underestimate, even when your restaurant is not full, or maybe it's a bad day where you only have 2 or 3 tables. The 2 or 3 tables, when you really take care of them, when you treat them as someone very special, when you go to the table and check on them, they might be someone who will bring a lot of people to your restaurant. So sometimes a lot of people get demotivated and the mood change. I think be responsible or be grateful on no matter how, even for small stuff. Oh, and one more thing. I think for me, I'm very hard on myself. So for me, I would remind myself, everything is in your control. Don't ever look outwardly to find a blame. Like if things doesn't go your way, you always have the control to change that. A lot of people have the mentality to always blame on other factors. Like if things doesn't work out, oh, maybe it's the marketing. Oh, because I don't have a good team. Oh, because I have a bad location. Oh, because blah, 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 blah. The thing is, all that factors is something that you can control and you can change. It can be very harsh, but sometimes you always have to look inwardly and always tell yourself that you are the one who can change things.
I can go on and go on and go on and go on, but it's gonna take a lot of your time. So I really appreciate it, Chef. If I can summarize everything from the beginning, basically, it's a long run. You just gotta have to stay in the line. Just gotta have to come back stronger, and don't be too hard to yourself. That's from Chef Hans.
Don't ever compare yourself as well. Sometimes, in overseas, a lot of people didn't go to school and they went to the kitchen at a very young age, like 16 years old. So a lot of people, they came into the kitchen and they work with a sous chef who's like only 22 years old, 23 years old, and you feel like, oh shit, I'm 24 and I'm still a chef de partie, or I'm still a commie or whatever. That's not the main point, because I think it's more important on focusing on the end goal and how you finish than how you start.
Really appreciate your time, Chef.
Thank you.
That is the untold story of Chef Hans Christian.